Well, accused killer Luigi Mangioni is back in a New York City courtroom right now. This is the first hearing in the state's murder case since the judge held a secret hearing in his chambers, closed off from the media and the public. Mangioni is accused of stalking and killing United Health Insurance executive Brian Thompson back in 2024. He has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder, stalking, and multiple firearms offenses. The state trial is set to start September 8th. The federal case is scheduled to go to trial next year. Here now, criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, we always appreciate your expertise. This is an incredibly high-profile case, goes without saying. The critiques up until this point, some of the loudest, center around these closed hearings, concerns over transparency with the trial. In high-stakes, high-profile territory like this, what are the biggest reasons for sealed hearings, and what's their impact?
Yeah, hey, Kelly, always great to be with you. I think this closed-door meeting is all about, cameras in the courtroom. What is this trial going to look like? For example, how's Mangioni going to be able to dress when he's in the courtroom? How the cameras are going to be located, if there are cameras allowed, in terms of positioning toward him so that he's portrayed in a fair light. That's really what I think the backdoor hearing's about. But look, I think the bigger issue in this case, Kelly, is if you looked at this case through the lens of just the facts, right, and the law, then this would look like a slam dunk, right? You've got the gun, you've got the silencer, you've got this manifesto where he said, I want to whack off an insurance executive. You've got evidence of him renting an electric bike right across the street from the alleged murder. And you've got a videotape, right, of the murder. Boy, if you encapsulate all of that and put that in front of a jury, you'd think there'd be a guilty verdict. But not so quickly in this case, because you're dealing with potentially a political message here of the high cost of insurance. You're also dealing with a cultural phenomenon. You're showing a video right now. This guy's a young, good-looking man, and that's going to factor into it. Why? Because the jury is going to feel like they already know him when they enter the courtroom and they start this trial. So the politics of this case, the cultural phenomenon, those two intersect with the legal courtroom. And let's see what happens.
Right. It feels like an impossible task to find an impartial jury here. What does that process look like for a case like this?
Yeah, great question. I defended Dalia Dippolito many years ago in West Palm Beach, Florida, very high-profile case. And in jury selection in that case, I think you're going to see the same thing here. We actually got into what's called individual voir dire. What does that mean? Well, typically when jurors come in to be picked, Kelly, you do a broad swipe first, right? You ask a bunch of questions to the entire jury pool. Can you be fair and unbiased? Do you have any bias in favor or against Mangioni? And then I think what the judge will let happen here is the lawyers can then individually question the jurors. And sometimes this is allowed outside the presence of other jurors to make sure that there's no bias in the case. But look, even with that procedure, we all know that jurors harbor their own personal experiences when they walk into a courtroom. And I think it's going to be very hard to find people that aren't aware of this case and that don't have some kind of sentiment for or against Mangioni.
Right. Well, that is astute because I think that is the central concern here. We will, of course, wait and see. Plea deal still possible. The odds in question. Brian Claypool. Brian, thank you.
You bet. Thanks.